My fellow Nerdikins, welcome back to another episode of That's So Nerdy. Today we've got an exciting gameplay video for you. We are playing Yellow Gotenks, Display of Mastery, against Last Resort Frieza, Starter Frieza. So I believe I got the dice roll, the high rolls. I think I'm going first. I could be mistaken about that. Actually, no. I think Tommy does go first here. But this I think this Gotenks leader is really slept on. I think his ability is really good. He makes for a really good generic yellow leader, considering how if your opponent on the unawakened side, if your opponent plays an extra card, you get to draw a card. And then on your awakened side, as long as you have 3 or more energy, when your opponent plays an extra card, you get to draw a card and rest one of their battle cards. So that's really good and plays into what Yellow wants to do in the first place. So yeah, it is Tommy that goes first, and he chooses to charge a Chilai. And then he plays out his Unison, Frieza Invader from another dimension. This Unison's in the deck essentially to help him self-awaken. It's there so he can just get to his awakened side faster, because this Frieza gets so much stronger on its awakened side. And then he plays out the token that the +1 ability for the Unison allows him to play at the end of his turn. And I really didn't want to charge anything I had in my hand. Everything I had in my hand was really good, and I really didn't want to charge anything that I had. But I opted for this. And then I go in with the leader, proccing his ability, because I'm swinging into his Unison, because I'm not trying to give him resources faster. So I proc Gotenks' ability to draw 1 from life and draw 1 from my deck. And then I super combo to tap down his Unison. And when I tap down his Unison, I play out Poutine. And that just made things like really, really nice. He procced the permanent ability on his Unison, so instead of taking a marker of damage, he just popped the token instead. Which, I mean, is really nice, because it still gives him access to his Unison that's helping him self-awaken, because if he doesn't have a Frieza's army on the board, he can't use the leader's self-awakening ability, because he has no battle card to pop. And if you can't pop a battle card with the Frieza's ability, you don't get to rip a card from your opponent's hand, and you also don't get to take the life, which is unfortunate. So he charged Bupo, played out the Dodoria. Now this Dodoria is part of his cycle chain, so he's able to bring it back from his drop area, and then also use it as KO fodder for his leader's ability to make me start pitching stuff. He did preemptively play out the token this time, but it doesn't really matter because it doesn't come into play. It doesn't change the state of the game, I should say. So I pitch another Realm of the Gods card for his leader's ability. And that honestly doesn't feel great, but it's not terrible, because since I do already have Poutine established, and I do have 2 more of the Realm of the Gods cards in here, I'm not super worried about it. But I will say that he does a pretty good job of keeping my hand fairly low, especially considering how much this deck is able to draw. So here I play out my Unison, and I really like this Unison for this deck. Honestly, I like it for most yellow decks for early game unisons, unless like you need a unison that's specific to the archetype. Because if you don't feel as stressed about tapping out for him on your turn 2, because if all of your energy is in rest mode on your opponent's turn, your leader gets plus 5k. So it's essentially just like a yellow bean. I want to say, as long as your energy is all tapped, except like obviously you don't get to untap your energy, but it's also one that can come into play like later in the turn, and you'll actually see it happen in this game. I accidentally take some damage that I didn't need to take because I was at 20k and he was only swinging for 15. So I do actually take some accidental damage this game, but I believe it's only the one time. And I will let you guys know when that happens. I'll make sure to point it out. I always try and point out the mistakes that I catch. That way we can help each other, grow as a community and get better at the game. Keep an eye out for common mistakes that most people are going to be making. So right here, he's trying to figure out how he's going to be able to awaken. And he actually gets really stressed out because he thinks he messed up really hard by doing things the way that he does it, but actually it really wouldn't have made that much of a difference. Yeah, this will definitely be a recurring deck on the channel, this Gotenks, and probably this Frieza also, because Tommy and I have been working really hard on how to, make it like viable and make it good. And actually, it's really powerful, but if you know what's coming and if you know what plays to look out for, it definitely helps to know what you're playing against. Because even though I did know that I was going to be playing this deck against his Frieza deck, I didn't actually side in like any hand control hate, which I mean was kind of gutsy, but I had a plan behind it. And that plan is if his unison doesn't have skills, then it's not going to be able to make me rip cards. So that's kind of where my thought process was there. And here he's just trying to remember to sequence things correctly. So he plays out the Dodoria. This is I counterplay the Dodoria, but it's mainly so I can have the blocker out there, because I know he's going to pop the Dodoria with his leader's ability anyway. But I just want the blocker on board, honestly. So I pitch Vegeta the Impregnable, and Tommy's going to decide to awaken, and I take that damage. Because otherwise, if he hadn't awakened, he would have had to actually combo up in order to deal some damage to me. Because my leader, even though it is unawakened, because my energy's all tapped out, he is sitting at 15k. Since it's my opponent's turn. Which is such a nifty ability. It comes in so handy so many times. But it is something that's also easy to forget, especially if you're not consistently moving the buffer die off and on. If you don't remember to do that stuff, it's easy to forget that you have that buff. So he decides to swing a unison here, and I'm going to go ahead and activate my blocker because I don't want him hurting my unison. And he decides to combo up with Zarbon into Ribrians. He actually only really wanted to combo with one of the Ribrians, but he decides to just roll with it because that's what he did, and leaves them both in the drop area. Alright, so going into my turn 3, we are both sitting at 4 life. I charge an impregnable Vegeta. Yep, Vegeta the Impregnable. And then that token that played out at the end of his turn, I should have rested that with Poutine. But it doesn't really matter because it doesn't have combo power or anything, so it's not like you can use it for anything. Yeah, it was supposed to come into play in rest mode since he didn't play anything else with skills or activate any counters, so I didn't actually trigger Poutine on that turn, even though I was supposed to for that token. Here, it really doesn't feel good because I want to try and spend some energy before I awaken, but it didn't happen. I just had to do a feels bad awaken and not restand energy, not get any draws, just awaken him so I can get the full benefit of everything on the front side. So I swing at his lead with my leader. He doesn't counter. I proc the auto to draw. Excuse me, sorry. And he opts to take the damage. And then I swing at his lead again with my Unison. And he's checking to see if he has Sparking, which he doesn't. So he counters with Shocking Death Ball. He doesn't have a target to KO, but he does. It is an extra card, so I do get to draw a card, and then I rest down this token with my leader's ability. And then I may be mistaken, but I might just pass turn here. No, I added the marker, and then yeah, I think I may just pass turn. Because I see how much energy he has, and I know he hasn't played it out yet. But I'm still super worried. Yeah, so I do just pass turn. I'm still super worried about the Dark Broly Unison, because if he can just limit my resources, obviously any deck is going to struggle, but this one does a lot more also. And then I see that he charges a Unison there, so I know he already has another Unison in his hand. He chooses to do the minus ability on his Unison. He gets to pick a card out of my hand, and then he goes to play out the Unison, and I Tyrannical Blow to negate the skill, so he can't rip another card from my hand using the Unison this turn, which was clutch. It was a huge play, and it really just kind of shut down this turn for him, because he doesn't get to do the ability to make me pitch a card and KO one of my battle cards. He also doesn't get the double strike because its skills are negated for the turn. He can still swing with it, so it is still a 20k body, which he does here. In those last two swings, I believe both were at my Unison, because he's a little salty about me doing that. And I have explained to him how smart it is to actually swing into your opponent's Unison and try and deprive them of that resource, especially if you're able to clear it super fast. So I charge a Forbidden Power because I believe I have another one in hand, as well as I'm wanting to go in pretty heavy on this turn because I want to either kill him or I want to try and get that Unison off the board. Because honestly, that Unison's the biggest threat in this whole deck, because with the leader's ability to pop a Frieza's army off the board, it gives it critical. So a 20k double strike crit, it's really just hard to deal with. And here I get a phone call, and she ended up calling Tommy's phone because my phone is the one that we are currently filming with. And I actually have been looking at my videos, and I realized that I need to get a new screen cover for my camera lens because it's a little scuffed, and I believe that's why the video quality isn't as good as it should be, because the camera quality on my phone is really, really nice. So I believe both my leader swing and my unison swing were at his life. And he decides to homicidal clones here, and I counterplay to rest his token. He counterplays my counterplay, and then I use Poutine to rest down the Frieza. And then I play Turles, KO the Frieza, draw a card, and the card I drew was another Turles. So I KO the token, and now I swing in for 20 double at his Unison. And since he wasn't able to plus the 2 markers, he's still sitting at 3. And I'm going in way hard at the Unison, which just like it really gives it back to me, because the fact that I'm able to clear his Unison off the board here is just huge. It really, really slows him down because he loses access to Charismatic. He loses access to Dormant for free. He doesn't have the ability to rip cards from my hand as easily. It just really, really slows down what his deck wants to do. And I was really fortunate to draw both of those Turleses on that turn. And I was actually really fortunate that he chose to counterplay my counterplay instead of waiting and maybe counterplaying something that is going to deal damage to him. He decided to counterplay my blocker, which, I mean, isn't a terrible idea, but at the same time, it's like, what's more important? But to be fair, he didn't know that I had those in my hand, but with 4 energy open, you got to expect that your opponent's doing something. So I think coming up here shortly is where I take the damage that I'm not supposed to, because right now my leader's sitting at 20k since all my energy is tapped out. So I think he swings in with a leader swing, and I end up taking the damage, but it was something that I didn't need to do. So here he's just trying to work out what he's trying to do. He's saying that he doesn't really think he's going to get another turn, so He's debating on if he wants to tap out or not. He does say that he has a Rosie in his hand, and he doesn't opt to use it, which in my opinion was a mistake. But yeah, here's where I take the one damage that I wasn't supposed to, is right here, because I'm supposed to be a 20k there, but I forgot to put the die on my leader, so I forgot he was buffed. And that is one thing that you gotta always remember with this Unison. I did also forget to mention that like the leader, the Unison also has an ability that it gets a benefit when your opponent plays an extra card. It actually gets to gain a marker. So you're actually able to gain markers fairly quickly, and then the -4, if you can get that off before playing out the Mechikabura Unison, then it can be really, really detrimental to your opponent, especially if your opponent's already tapped out, because it makes it so they can only restand 2 energy. So no matter what turn we're on, they're only going to have 3 energy to work with in total. And right here, he plays out the Zarbon, and I use Poutine to rest it, and he calls game there. He's like, I'm not going to make it out, so I just go through and this is what I'm explaining to him, what I would have done, so he's absolutely correct. If you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you thought. I will be posting the profile tomorrow. Thank y'all, and have a good night, and stay nerdy.